The Brooklyn Nets were going to have to find new ways to be able to acquire some young talent coming out of the 2022 NBA draft because they did not own a 2022 first round or second round pick as they traded those away in the James Harden trade that happened a year and a half ago. And they could have had a chance at having a first round pick this year, but they deferred that over to 2023 NBA draft. But they were able to acquire three undrafted free agents that will be participating in the Brooklyn Nets Summer League in the next month and a half or so. And they are brought in on two-way deals, so they'll be able to participate in the Brooklyn Nets G League for Long Island, as well as if they're able to make it to the NBA roster with the Brooklyn Nets. And those three players are Alondes Williams out of Wake Forest, Donovan Williams out of Texas, and Noah Kirkland out of Harvard. These three players will be brought in to the Brooklyn Nets this coming summer, and they will be having the opportunity while playing in the Summer League, as well as when training camp starts for the Brooklyn Nets in September, to have the opportunity to be able to make this roster with the Brooklyn Nets as a reserve player, and maybe even be able to carve out some minutes if they show this organization something during those training camp practices as well as the Summer League. What's going on, everybody? This is NYG Jeffy T 3285, and today I'm just going to go over a quick review of the three undrafted free agents that the Brooklyn Nets acquired through the NBA draft after it ended. And that's Alondes Williams, Donovan Williams, and Noah Kirkland. Now, first I'm going to get to the first player on this list, which is Alondes Williams. He's a player that played a couple of years in Oklahoma during the 2019-2020 as well as the 2020-2021 NBA during the college seasons. So he's obviously had some experience that's played in a big school. But in 2021-2022, he transferred over to Wake Forest, where he became an ACC Player of the Year as well as a first-team ACC player, putting up numbers of 18.5 points per game. He averaged 1 steal, 0.4 blocks. He had a 3.6 turnover ratio. He had about 6.4 rebounds as well as 5.2 assists. He had a 28 percentage of a 3-point field goal. He had a 50% field goal percentage. And he played in about 23 minutes per game. So this is a guy that is a good slasher to the basket. He will get you some rebounds per game. He obviously can put the ball in the net. He is a little bit of an older prospect. He's 23 years old right now. So he started out a little bit older. So you have to worry about that a little bit, that he is ahead of the game, but at the same time, this will also be a benefit because he's a guy that has experience playing in college basketball, and he might have a leg up on some of the other younger talents that are coming into the Nets training camp as well as to the Summer League. But this is a guy that can obviously put the ball in the basket. He's a guy that can rebound. He's not a bad defensive player. He's great at slashing to the basket, and that's something that the Brooklyn Nets can always use in terms of some of their depth players to this roster, as they were having a little bit of trouble scoring in the second unit. So Alondes Williams is a guy, if he can be able to show out during the summer camp as well as training camp, maybe he can earn himself a role as a potential role player for this Brooklyn Nets team going into the 2022-2023 NBA season. Now, the second player that I want to talk about is Donovan Williams. He's a 6'6" small forward. He's a 6'6" shooting guard / small forward, and he's played for Texas. He's 21 years old, and in 2022, actually, I'm sorry, he played in UNLV. He played in UNLV. I apologize. He played in UNLV in his 2022 season, but he did play for Texas before that. He's 21 years old. He had 12.7 points per game in 2022. He had a 43.6, which is pretty much 44 percentage out of 3-point percentage overall. So that's pretty good. This guy can hit the ball from deep. He played in 27 games where he averaged about 22 minutes per game. He had 3.3 rebounds per game, and he had about 1 assist per game. He had 0.4 blocks, 0.7 steals, so about a steal per game, and he had about 2 turnovers per game, which is not terrible, but it's obviously you want you to keep those turnovers down. And he was also named the Mountain West Sixth Man of the Year. So this is a guy that could clearly be a potential 3 and D player. That's when you look at a guy like Donovan Williams out of UNLV. He's a 3 and D basketball player that you're going to be able to put in there at times, and he's going to be able to knock down those three-point percentages, because a 44% three-point percentage is a very good percentage to have for a three-point shooter. And he's going to be able to go in there, get you the rebounds. He's going to be able to get you some block shots. He's going to be able to get some steals. He's going to be able to apply some solid defense on the wing. And that's another thing that the Brooklyn Nets could easily use, is more wing defenders, as they've struggled. As a couple of points I made in my previous videos, is the Brooklyn Nets are in need of some wing defenders. So this guy, Donovan Williams, is a guy that can go in there and be able to provide that wing defense, as well as be able to hit the three-point shot at a consistent rate. So this is a guy that you hope, if he shows out as well in summer league and in training camp, he can maybe make the roster as a back end of the rotation guy that will be able to occasionally hit those three-point shots, as well as be able to play some good wing defense. Now the last player I want to go over is Noah Kirkland, the 6'7" power forward out of Harvard, 22 years old, where he averaged 17.7 points per game, 5.7 rebounds per game, so about 6 rebounds per game, 3 assists. He had a 35.3 three-point percentage, and he was named first team in the All-Ivy League. So this is another guy that can be able to provide some rebounding, scoring, as well as some three-point percentage. 35% is not terrible. So this is another guy that you could throw in there in the mix, which the Nets, they can use all the help they can get in terms of depth. And he can either show himself out in the summer leagues and training camp, and if you need to develop him a little bit more, throw him in the G League for however long you want to have him there. Let him develop his game overall, and if he's ready, you bring him up to the big squad, as the Nets did last year when they had guys like Deron Sharp, Derek Duke Jr., as well as Kessler Edwards, and of course Cam Thomas. All these guys started out in the G League, and eventually they made their way over to the Brooklyn Nets roster due to some injuries, and also they played very well in the G League, and these got their opportunities to play with the big squad for a little bit of time. Kessler Edwards actually became a very solid role player. Cam Thomas, at the beginning and the middle of the season, this guy was scoring pretty decently when Kyrie Irving, Kevin Durant, James Harden, they were out for various reasons. So at the same time, what you want to see out of these young players, they have the opportunity now that they're signed to two-way contracts. Alondes Williams, Donovan Williams, and Noah Kirkland. If they can show something to the Brooklyn Nets brass in the summer league, as well as the training camp, maybe they can earn a role as a potential role player for the Brooklyn Nets as like a 7th, 8th, 9th man, maybe 10th man off the rotation, if the Brooklyn Nets decide to go that deep during the regular season. And you know, with injuries always happening, you always can use some added depth to that roster. Now, there's no guarantee. I'm not saying that any one of these three guys are definitely going to make the roster. But it's nice to see some more young blood be able to be infused to this roster that have some upside and have some skill sets that the Brooklyn Nets are looking for in terms of players that can help this team in the 2022-2023 season. And if they need some more developing, you throw them in the Long Island Nets G League team and let them develop over there until you think that they're ready to contribute to the big roster for the Nets in 2022-2023. So that's just my overview of these three young talents: Alondes Williams out of Wake Forest, Donovan Williams out of UNLV, and Noah Kirkland out of Harvard, that are going to get the opportunity, that are signed to two-way contracts, and are going to be invited to the Brooklyn Nets Summer League, that will get the opportunity to see if they can maybe show out and make the roster with the Brooklyn Nets as potential depth guys. And if not, you just send them to the G League and let them develop over there. And if they show out, maybe they'll be able to bring up to the roster, the Brooklyn Nets roster, during the latter part of the season. So I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Hit the like button on the bottom if you haven't already. Subscribe if you haven't to NYG Jeffy T3285 for more breaking news and updates surrounding the Brooklyn Nets. Turn the bell on for the next notifications for the next videos, as well as the next shorts that come out. And share your comments below, and if you have any expectations for these three young undrafted free agents the Brooklyn Nets have signed last night. Alondes Williams, Donovan Williams, and Noah Kirkland. And if you think they have the opportunity to make the Brooklyn Nets roster in the latter part of any part of the Brooklyn Nets season coming up. Thank you very much. I hope everybody enjoys their Friday, TGIF Friday. Hope everybody enjoys their upcoming weekend too. And let's see what the Brooklyn Nets are going to be doing during the offseason. There's a lot of chatter going around this team right now on the status and futures of Kyrie Irving, Kevin Durant, Ben Simmons, whoever it is. So it's going to be a very, very interesting offseason for the Brooklyn Nets going forward. Everybody enjoy your Friday. Take it easy, and let's go Brooklyn Nets. NetsWorld, baby.